You won't believe this. After I changed all the capacitors, this board pissed me off again. I never ever had such a thing. Changing the capacitors and then the board won't work. So let me explain you what happened to this board. So on this video over here, I was wrong and I fixed this motherboard. I show that I find lots of transistors and I changed them because the power supply was not working. And also in that video I mentioned that the board is really cheaply made, that the traces they are coming off very easy. If you want to know how that went, go and check that video. You will gonna understand how I struggle also on that video. And after changing those transistors, which are these ones, which is barely holding in place now, you can see how easy it's moving. This one, this one, this one, and the voltage regulator, and this diode over here. The power supply was working perfectly. I had power, everything was all right. Then Vishal also decided to change all the capacitors, so I went, we bought a new capacitor, Nichicon, and good ones, and we changed all the electrolytic capacitor on this amplifier, also in the power output boards, and also in this driving stage board with the power supply. And if you want to watch the videos when I change the capacitor on the power output, so this is the video, and then when I change the capacitor on the driving stage, this is the video. So after I finished installing all the new capacitor, I double check, triple check my soldering, and then I went to install inside the chassis. I did all the connection, put here the power outputs, powering the board, and was not working. So I say, what's going on? I never happened such a things like that in my life since I'm doing electronics, just changing few capacitor and amplifier stopped working. So what happened? I really couldn't understand what happened. So I take the board out from the amplifier, I measured all the connection to the capacitor which I soldered. I checked the capacitor, make sure that the polarity is correct. So you can see positive is here, positive is in this side, this is negative, positive is there, marked positive, and negative is the same. Positive is positive, negative is in there. Here is the same. I have negative in there, positive mark on the board in this side, same positive mark on this side, and negative is in there. So actually all the capacitors are soldered correctly in polarity. So what was wrong? You can see here it says negative regulated power supply, so I was missing this one. So I was measuring here and I had only around 3 volts, 4 volts, and on this side I had the full 60 volts. And then I asked myself, how is possible? Before changing the capacitor, when I changed all the transistors, the voltages was okay and everything was working how should, only that a freshness of the electrolytic capacitor will gonna do a better life for this amplifier. And then once you change the smoothing capacitor on the power supply and put some fresh ones, the voltage will gonna increase a bit because the capacitor are fresh and smoothing better, the ripple is less, and the voltage is a bit little higher. So when I changed the transistor and it was still the old capacitors over here like this one are the first one smoothing the voltage after the rectifier bridge. So these are the rectifier bridge and then coming these capacitors. So with the old ones on the positive and negative, I was measuring around 83, 85 volts, something like that. Hey, well, with the new ones, now we have their 90, 91 volts, such things. And then I remember that this transistor which I changed here, I got them from eBay. So now there is a big question mark. Are these transistors genuine, original? Because I will gonna explain you later on the video what's going on with these transistors. Hey, well, so the voltages was present over here, the 60 positive, and I was missing the 60 negative, which is measuring only around 3 volts, 4 volts anyway. So then I say, well, what can be wrong? So I take the board out, I measure it again, the transistors, because the unique things that you cannot have voltages is that even this transistor or the diodes here are faulty. So I measure it everything, and again I take out to make sure, also measuring out from the circuit, everything measuring perfect. So everything was okay, so I install them back. I power the board again, and guess what? No voltages. The positive was present, the negative again was not present. So I went to check the datasheet of this transistor, because on the positive side we have the tip 122 and on the negative side we have the tip 127, because that 127 is a PNP and tip 1 to 2 is NPL. And you can see here the collector base voltage, they should withstand up to 100 volts, and collector emitter voltage, they should withstand under 100 volts as well. So everything, if it's a genuine, I had only 90 volts over there and should work perfectly. Then I take the board again outside from the chassis and I disconnect these jumpers, which transfer the power from the regulated power supply to the driving stage, because in this side is driving stage, right? So taking out the jumpers like that, the power will not be sent to the driving stage, and measuring over here and measuring over here, guess what? I had positive 83 volts and negative 81 volts. So it was like 2 volts difference. That's because of the tolerances of the resistors, capacitors, and whatever involved in these voltage regulators. But this voltage regulator is a bit particular because it's a balancing depend of the current. So has like a current limit inside build up, and when reach that current limit, we're gonna regulate the voltage in order to balance the positive and negative to be in the same voltage output. So then remember that I mentioned that I remember that the transistors was bought from eBay and I was not sure if are genuine or not. So my intuition, I had already that what can be the problem. But, you know, sometimes you don't believe in your intuition. So I went on a rabbit hole for 3 days, every evening 3 hours each. So imagine 9 hours continuously in a rabbit hole because I don't want to trust my intuition from the beginning that that transistor was not genuine. And how I mentioned that this power supply is working on current limit to balance the voltage on the output, then I say, maybe this one dropping the voltage to 3 volts because maybe the negative side on this driving stage has a short somewhere. So what I did the next was powering the output stage with the main transformer through the dim bulb, and then coming here with my bench power supply. And I did that because on the bench power supply I can see the current that is taking the negative rail and positive rail, and I wanted to make sure if it's a balanced or there is more current pulling on the negative rail, because if it was more current to pull over there, that explains why the voltage dropped, because maybe it was a short on the negative rail and the voltage was dropping to just 3 or 4 volts, how much it was measuring when it was under the load of the power supply. Because without load, I had 81 volts. As soon as I was connecting the load, dropping to 4 volts. So that makes me be in that rabbit hole for 3 days. And when I was powering with my bench power supply on these points, the negative and positive here, actually I was playing also music. The amplifier was working perfectly. So I was having only a current of 30 milliamps pulled by the negative rail and 30 milliamps pulled from the positive rail. So the current was balanced. So why the negative side was dropping the voltage then? But doing that test, I narrowed my issue and I know that now all the problem is from the power supply. So I needed to focus over there what's going on, because such a thing is impossible. Without load, there is 81 volts. As soon as I put the load, and it's not an excessive load, it's just 30 milliamps, the voltage dropped to just 3 volts or 4 volts. So what can do that when all the components on the board are perfectly fine? There is no any fault, any component that is damaged to say that, oh, because one component is not okay, the voltage drop. So then here on the board there is a Zener diode which set the voltage to between collector base voltage, which was 56 Zener diode. And I say, let me reduce a bit that Zener diode, and I reduce it to 43 because that one was the higher voltage which I had over here on my components pairs around, without going to order a special one and just wait for it days. So I went there straight away, I changed this one, and guess what? The power supply is working well. Only that I will not have any more 60 volts on the output. We're gonna be only around 55 volts like that, 50 volts, something like that on the output. So negative 55, positive 55. So this one confirmed that the tip 1 to 7 is not genuine, because it's not withstanding to maximum 100 volts on the base collector voltage. Because if I reduce the voltage on the base, looks like the transistor working fine, and is not going in saturation to drop the voltage when the load is applied. Even if it's a load of only 30 milliamps, that is not such a huge load on it. But the transistor go in saturation and lose the power and doesn't work anymore how should. So that's why the base is the biasing transistor. So if you over biasing the transistor can fold the line of the voltage that it will gonna put in the output. So yeah, reducing the voltage then confirm that the transistor is not genuine, because definitely here you can read, if it's a genuine tip 1 to 7, collector base voltage should go up to 100 volts. And I am pretty sure instead of 1 to 7, which is printed on the capsule, I think is a tip 1 to 5. I'm definitely sure if 58 volts on the base was already going through saturation. I'm pretty sure. Because see, here you have this graph that is telling you if you go up to the which voltage on the base, the transistor will gonna just close itself, it will not work anymore. So yeah, that's what now definitely confirms that is not a 1 to 7. Because if it was a 1 to 7, should definitely withstand. In the capsule, yeah, it's mentioned 1 to 7, but on figures what happened there with the transistor, I believe is a tip 1 to 5 that stay only up to 60 volts and not 100 volts. So then I did a quick test on amplifier to see if it's working nice, if it sounds good. I'm gonna put a really short clip here because it's a copyrighted sound. Have a look how it sounds. I sent this clip to Visual and said, look, the amplifier is working good, and I'm pretty sure that the transistor is not original. The amplifier is good, but there is lots of issue with this board. So as I say, that what pissed me off, the trace is coming off because the board is not a FR4, is who knows whatever it is. As I say, this one, how you can see, barely holding its place on it. I'm gonna also put some pictures to see how actually look down there on the pins. Same as on the back side over there, how you can see it's really badly. So yeah, the amplifier now really sound, I like how it sound and work how should, apart this one, as I said, that definitely this one are some faulty, and because the board is really bad. Imagine if I need to desolder all those traces, definitely are gonna come off and I will not have where to solder a new chip, definitely. Me and Vishal, we decide that how we're gonna go to design a PCB for this one. So I have a request from you guys. If someone of you watching this video over there and have a full schematic of this DNA 1 deluxe version, that includes this regulated power supply over here and this protection input muting circuit, that this is what is doing. Because the schematic that I managed to find is just the driving stage plus the output stage. So I don't have in my schematic this part and this part. So in order to design a PCB that it will gonna be the same holes over there, it's just a drop in a new PCB board, a better quality that you can do repairs on it, that you can desolder and solder much easier the components in. I need also these schematics for this regulated power supply on that one. And please, anyone watching this video and can help me out with this schematic, a full schematic, please reach out, contact me. There is a comments down below, and we can be in contact via email or something to get the files, the schematic, like that I can design in my own. I don't need to do properly replicated exactly how is this one. I just need to keep the same board size and in the same place the holes, like that is a drop in another board, but I can rearrange the components in my way, it's not any problem. I can redesign the traces on my way, it's not any problem on that one, once I have the schematic. But as I say, I can do a schematic without, I can do a PCB board without this input protection circuit what is there, and instead of this regulated voltage power supply, I can redesign a new one, but I would like to keep it like how was the original, only making a better board. So yeah, if any one of you have this schematic, full schematic, please let me know, because definitely I can't put this board with this transistor that falling apart, and they will gonna fail again. So he will gonna maybe go back to his home, he will gonna enjoy it, listening music, and maybe in 1 month or two other things can fall apart. I read also on the internet about this, that a lots of people, and it's well known that this board can fail anytime. So for a simple job repairing this amplifier and changing the capacitor, we end up a very big project, redesigning a PCB board, transferring these components maybe through this board to another board, or maybe try to buy new components and make a brand new board. We will gonna see how we're gonna decide to do when we're gonna need to populate. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely design a new PCB on this time that I am in holiday. I'm gonna take the laptop with me and slowly design a PCB. And if you want to see all the joining on this amplifier, starting with this one when I receive it and I did some measurements, then here when I did more investigation to understand how much damage suffered this amplifier, when I figured out what was problem on this board, I did the next video when I was changing all the transistors. Then I tested again, and it was again the dim bulb was lighting up too much and was drawing a bit of higher current. Then we decided that we're gonna change the power output capacitor. So in this video I changed that one. And then when I get very pissed off changing this capacitor, that was a struggle because the traces coming off very easy on this board. And if you reach until here watching this video and you would like to help me out, please let your comment down below and tell me if you have a full schematic of this amplifier. And also if you are interested in all the tools which I use daily on all my working bench and I'm happy how they work for me, I'm gonna leave links in the description down below. Feel free to have a look and maybe you are interested in some of these tools. And if you enjoyed also the video, double like will gonna help me a lot. And if you are new watching the video, subscribe, activate the notification bell, like that you will not miss the next parts when I'm gonna have a new empty board ready for populating. Because as I say, if even I will not find the entire schematic, I'm gonna skip the part of the input protection muting circuit, and I'm gonna definitely redesign a different power regulator voltage for the driving stage, because there is plenty available that you can do. Just you need to supply a maximum of 60 volts on it and it will gonna work perfect. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate, and until the next one guys, have a good one and bye bye.